The stars stretched endlessly across the void, a shimmer of ancient light untouched by the petty wars of Earth. From the observation deck of the Arkship horizon, Ambassador Lira Voss stared into that cold brilliance and tried to forget what she had left behind. The ship moved silently through deep space, its hull gleaming with embedded comm arrays and defensive latticework, a contradiction in itself. It was a vessel of peace, but peace never traveled unarmed anymore. Lira exhaled, her breath fogging the reinforced glass for a moment before the internal climate systems whisked it away. Behind her, the quiet hum of the ship's core thrummed like a heartbeat. The journey had been long. 6 months in slipstream, barely a whisper time for a mind that measured peace in decades, but she felt every second of it in her bones. "Ambassador," came a voice, low and clipped. Commander Ryle Juno stood at attention, his uniform pristine despite the long mission. His face bore the hard lines of someone who had survived too many conflicts to believe in words anymore. Lira turned. "Report. We've reached the outer edge of Velari-controlled space. Scans show an orbital structure ahead. Unmanned. No immediate threats. Still no response to our transmissions?" "None. But they're listening." She nodded. "Then we keep speaking." They walked together down the corridor, passing through security bulkheads and automated drones that scanned them in silence. The crew moved with practiced discipline. Engineers hunched over consoles. Translators attempted to parse the Velari's only reply so far, a pulsating stream of geometric patterns that defied syntax or common logic. The mission, Operation Harmony, had been Earth's last best attempt to prove its worth as a species. After 2 centuries of civil strife, ecological devastation, and halting recovery, humanity had reached for the stars not as conquerors, but as survivors. They had found the Velari 20 years ago, a distant but technologically superior species. Until now, all contact had been via data packets and observation. This was the first face-to-face attempt. Lira had been chosen not for her politics, but her persistence. She had brokered ceasefires in ash-covered war zones. She had convinced nations to open their borders when famine ravaged the southern arc. She had buried 2 children in the same year, and still returned to work the next day. But none of it had prepared her for the stillness of the void or the Velari's silence. Inside the bridge, the lights dimmed to accommodate the image now forming in the center projection. The Velari station hung in orbit like a crystalline moon, its structure shifting, refracting nearby starlight as though made of frozen light. No visible weapons, no insignia, just beauty wrapped in silence. "They want us to dock?" Ryle asked, skepticism coloring every syllable. Lira studied the data. A narrow energy beam had extended from the station, targeting the horizon's guidance systems. It wasn't interference. It was assistance. They're inviting us in. Or they want to control our entry path. Which means they want us close, not destroyed. That's diplomacy, Commander. He didn't argue, but his jaw tightened. Lira tapped the comm. "Bridge to all departments. Prepare for diplomatic contact. No armed security beyond level 2. I want our intentions unmistakable." The ship responded with a faint vibration as the AI adjusted course. Below the bridge, hundreds of crew members moved into action. Lira watched their reflections in glass. Young, old, scarred, hopeful. None of them had seen Velari eyes. None of them had heard their voices. An hour later, the docking sequence engaged. The station accepted their approach without further signal, silently guiding the horizon into a cradle of softly glowing light. No airlocks, no formalities, just a gradual pull and then stillness. The boarding party assembled in the central lift. Lira wore formal robes, deep blue, lined with the crest of the Unified Earth Coalition. Beside her stood Dr. Anya Halverson, xenolinguist, Rear Admiral K.G. Marlowe, for security oversight, and a pair of AI-assisted envoys designed to record every micro-gesture and pulse in the environment. The door opened to an alien silence. The interior of the station was vast and cathedral-like. Vaulted chambers shimmered with iridescent surfaces that changed hue as they moved. No gravity, just ambient pressure and magnetic guides. The human party floated gently, drawn forward by unseen forces. Lira reached out and touched a wall. It was warm, pulsing faintly like the skin of some living monument. A shape appeared ahead, coalescing from refracted light, humanoid but tall, elongated, abstract. It had no face, but a ring of glowing motes circled its head like a crown. It raised one arm. A greeting? A warning? The team halted. Anya stepped forward and extended a translation sphere, an orb that emitted harmonized light patterns and sound to mimic linguistic structures. It projected humanity's greeting, a carefully layered message of peace, offering knowledge, culture, and coexistence. The figure made no reply. Then, from the ceiling, symbols began to form, floating holograms of spirals, triangles, and something resembling a tree root or neural map. The sphere began recording furiously. They're responding, Anya whispered, but it's not language as we know it. It's reactive, emotional, pattern-based. The figure moved again, its body splitting into mirrored halves, then reforming. With each movement, the station changed subtly as if breathing with it. The walls pulsed with color, red, violet, then a sharp, startling black. Behind Lira, the Admiral shifted. This place is watching us. We knew they would be different, Lira said. Yes, but I expected them to be people, not systems wearing skin. She ignored him, stepped forward, bowed. We come with open hands, she said, the ship's comm translating her voice into mathematical sequences of tone and pulse. The figure froze, and then vanished. The chamber dimmed. A low vibration rippled through the floor, then stopped. On the far wall, a rectangular passage opened, leading deeper into the station. Lira turned to the team. They're testing us. That was the first move. Or the first mistake, Ryle muttered. She didn't respond. Instead, she looked back toward the docked ship, now barely visible through the glowing passage. Every instinct screamed caution, but Earth had sent them not to be cautious, but to be brave. She stepped forward into the light. The corridor swallowed them. Walls of shifting light gave no sense of orientation. They floated forward as if drawn by invisible threads. Lira kept her gaze fixed ahead, careful not to look too long at the undulating surfaces. Each pulse of color and shadow teased at something primal, something designed to unsettle. Behind her, Admiral Marlowe murmured status checks to his team, his voice sharp and controlled. Dr. Halverson clutched her translation device, whispering fragmented observations to her AI, her curiosity barely concealing unease. Lira felt it too, an almost imperceptible change in the air, like a storm gathering behind glass. The passage opened into a wide chamber shaped like an inverted dome. Thin platforms spiraled outward, suspended in midair without visible support. Along their edges, strange machines hovered, spherical devices etched with veins of faintly glowing script. Some turned to face them. Others seemed indifferent. At the center hovered another Velari figure, taller than the first, its body layered in transparent sheets of refracted energy. It gestured, and the air responded. Images bloomed in front of them. Earth's continents, ancient cityscapes, diagrams of human DNA. Each flashed for less than a second, colliding into a chaotic burst of symbols and noise. Lira's AI strained to keep pace, its voice flickering in her ear. They're showing comprehension, Anya said quickly, a collage of everything we've transmitted over the past 20 years. They know what we are. They just don't know why we came. Lira stepped forward again. Peace, she said aloud. Exchange. Alliance. The Velari figure shifted, breaking into multiple mirrored versions of itself. The platforms trembled. Symbols exploded outward. Spirals contracting, triangles intersecting violently. Lira's AI processed the fragments. Response. Strength is language. Weak hand signaled deception. Marlowe's hand dropped his belt, but he didn't draw. That's not curiosity. That's doctrine. They're testing our intent, Lira said, looking for contradiction. They think peace is a trick. Anya interrupted, her eyes wide. Or worse, they see peace as a submission ritual. They might not have a concept of trust outside dominance. Lira stared at the Velari, who had now recombined into a single form. The dark crown of motes rotated faster around its head. A low frequency began to hum through the air, vibrating deep in the chest. It wasn't sound, it was pressure, thought, a kind of psychic intensity that made Lyra's knees go weak. "We need to recalibrate our signals," Anya said. "Symbols of balance, parity, mutual survival. Maybe—" She froze. From one of the side platforms, a shape had emerged, a slender drone-like creature, silver with rippling blue veins. It approached slowly, gliding toward the human party. Lyra held up a hand. "Don't move." The drone circled her once, then projected an image into the air. A soldier, human, clad in Earth Coalition armor, walking through a doorway identical to the one behind them. He was inside the Velari station. Alone. Lyra blinked. Who was that? Marlowe's comm buzzed. His face darkened. "Corporal Tesh. Security detail. He's missing from the boarding log." "Did he come through before us?" "No. Not possible. This image," he pointed at the projection, "was taken just moments ago." The Velari figure flared brighter, the hovering machines pulsing in synchrony. The spirals began to rotate counterclockwise. The translation AI choked on the data but forced out a phrase. "Violation. Contagion. Sacred space breached." Marlowe cursed under his breath. "They think we lied." "We didn't," Lyra snapped. "He must have acted alone. But they don't know that. Or they don't care," Anya whispered. "To them, intent may be irrelevant. Only action matters." The Velari's body distorted again, elongating vertically. The air thickened, tingling like charged static. One of the platforms suddenly retracted, pulling into the wall with a sharp mechanical snap. The chamber's entire color palette shifted to a deep crimson hue. Lyra's instinct screamed. "We need to back out." Slowly. The drone hissed, no sound, but an emotional pulse. A warning. Lyra raised her hands. "We didn't know. We can correct this. Please." The Velari didn't respond in words. Instead, the crown emotes collapsed inward like a dying star, and the figure simply vanished. All the lights died with it. Only the drone remained, hovering between them and the exit. "Retreat," Marlowe ordered. "Now." The team pushed backward through the corridor, the drone shadowing their movement. The walls grew darker with each meter, the pulses no longer soft but jagged, irregular. When they reached the ship, the docking mechanism detached without command. The horizon drifted free, the passage behind them sealing with a ripple of black light. Lyra stood in the command chamber, watching the station recede on the view screen. No pursuit, no signal, just silence. Ryle entered, his jaw rigid. "Earth Command has been informed. They advise caution, but no withdrawal. Still want a peaceful outcome." "They didn't feel what we did," Lyra said quietly. "They didn't see that pressure, that certainty. What's our move?" She looked out at the station again. "We wait, and we listen. If there's any thread left to follow, we'll find it. But if they've already decided we're hostile..." Lyra didn't answer. In her mind, the Velari symbol still spiraled, contracting, folding inward, ready to become something else. She turned back to the crew. "Prepare the next message. No promises, no apologies, just truth." And silently, in her chest, a terrible weight began to settle, an understanding that peace, in the language of the stars, might be indistinguishable from surrender. 2 days passed in uneasy stasis. The horizon remained in silent orbit, tethered to hope more than strategy. No further contact had come from the Velari. No drones, no transmissions, no gestures. Just a station looming in the darkness, its once luminous shell now dulled to a dim, pulsating gray. It felt like a judgment, suspended. Ambassador Lira Voss stood alone in the diplomatic chamber, surrounded by fractals of light. The ongoing attempts by Dr. Halverson's team to decipher the Velari's pattern language. Hundreds of simulations spun around her in slow motion, a galaxy of failed conversations. The message her command had sent was clear: re-establish dialogue or withdraw. But retreat at this point would be more than political failure. It would cement the Velari's perception of humanity as fearful, deceitful, or weak. and that would echo across every contact Earth ever attempted afterward. Lira adjusted her stance. The muscles in her legs ached from too much stillness, too much tension. She had slept only 3 hours since the encounter. In her dreams, the Velari spiral symbols twisted endlessly, closing in on her like a noose. The door chimed. Commander Ryle Juno entered, his face unreadable but his steps brisk with purpose. "We've located Corporal Tesh." Lira straightened. "Alive?" "No, but not on the station." He extended a tablet. A visual displayed the corporal's body drifting among debris just beyond the ship's scanning perimeter. No suit, no comms, no burns. His skin was marked with geometric lesions that seemed to shimmer when viewed at different angles. Lyra's breath caught. They expelled him. They used him. That projection we saw, Tesh walking through the doorway, that wasn't surveillance. It was manufactured. A message. She looked up. "To frame us. To test us," Ryle said. "To see how we'd respond to an internal breach. If we would hide it, deny it, retaliate." And we withdrew. He nodded grimly, which might have been the only reason we're still alive. Behind them, the chamber door opened again. Dr. Anya Halverson strode in, her eyes blazing with a different kind of fire. Curiosity on the edge of dread. "I think I've found a path through their syntax." Lira gestured for her to continue. "They don't speak in intent. They speak in consequence. To the Velari, meaning is determined after an action, not before. They don't understand promises or declarations. They understand chains of effect. If X, then Y, then Z. The Y is irrelevant. They evaluate trust through repeated patterns, not pledges. So our entire diplomatic model," Lira began, "is foreign to them. Literally nonsensical." Ryle's brow furrowed. "Then what do they understand?" "Consistency. Sacrifice. Patterns of behavior that persist even under pressure." Lira folded her arms. "Then we show them a pattern they can't ignore." She called a full assembly in the ship's central forum. Crew members gathered in silence. Engineers, biologists, tactical officers, translators, even medics. The air was heavy with anticipation. Lira stood at the center, the Velari station projected behind her in holographic scale. "We are not withdrawing," she began, "but neither will we provoke. The Velari do not trust words. They watch what we do, so we will give them something to see." She turned to Admiral Marlowe. "Initiate project vessel. Strip our primary combat modules. Replace them with open transmission beacons. No encryption." The Admiral hesitated. "That leaves us defenseless." "It leaves us honest." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "We will also begin broadcasting daily logs, unfiltered records of our ship's operations, thoughts, questions, fears. No propaganda. No edits. If they're listening, they will see who we are." Ryle stepped forward. "That's dangerous." "It's necessary. If we want peace, we must show them what peace looks like under pressure." Dr. Halverson nodded slowly. A behavioral signal. Repeated. Predictable. Lira looked out across the crew, her voice low but resolute. "If we fail, it won't be because we hesitated to be seen." The next 72 hours passed in a blur of reconfiguration. The Horizon transformed from a flagship of cautious diplomacy to a vulnerable monolith of intention. Shields retracted. Weapon systems powered down. Transmission relays rotated outward, opening every data stream to the void. The crew submitted personal recordings. Some spoke of families back on Earth. Others talked of regrets, small joys, or nightmares. One engineer recited poetry. A child's drawing, saved digitally from an officer's niece, was broadcast in looping sequence. They didn't plead. They didn't apologize. They revealed. And then on the 4th day, the station responded. Not with sound, not with light, with shape. The Velari structure shifted, folding inward in slow motion. Massive plates of its outer shell unfurled, revealing what appeared to be an interior chamber, a space large enough for the Horizon to enter. No energy fields, no visible defenses, just an aperture. Open, waiting. Ryle's voice cracked the silence. "Is that an invitation?" Anya stared at the screen, eyes wide. It's a reflection. Lyra's pulse raced. Of what? Of us. They saw the change. Now they're changing too. She closed her eyes. A moment of stillness. The kind of stillness before a storm or a breakthrough. Plot a course, she said. We're going in. The station's maw yawned wider as the horizon approached, each meter drawn by gravity or intent. The crew held their breath as the ship crossed the threshold. The light inside was unlike anything they had seen before, fluid, shifting, not merely illumination but memory and sensation woven into space. The horizon entered not a chamber, but a story in motion, and for the first time the Velari spoke. A single pulse echoed across every deck. Not words, a feeling, recognition. The chamber inside the Velari station defied geometry. Walls weren't walls. They were translucent folds of existence, bending reality with every step the crew took deeper. The horizon, left anchor behind, pulsed softly from the entrance like a heartbeat tethering them to home. Ambassador Lira Voss led the way, her face lit by the shifting blues and silvers of the alien environment. Behind her, Ryle, Anya, and Admiral Marlowe followed with measured caution, each breath sounding too loud, too human. A floating corridor formed before them, a ribbon of light spiraling down into what looked like a sea of stars. Not outer space, but something curated. Stars positioned like language. They're guiding us, Anya whispered, each light a sentence. A reaction to our broadcasts? Ryle asked. She nodded. They're responding to our truths. As they walked, the air thickened, not with gas or gravity, but with memory. Lyra felt impressions brushing against her thoughts. Not words, but moods. A child's fear, the ache of loss, the hope and laughter. None of it was hers, yet all of it somehow felt known. Shared. They're communicating in emotion, Lyra said. In echoes. An orb floated toward them. It was about the size of a human head, etched with moving glyphs and shimmer with the same liquid logic that defined the station's architecture. It hovered directly in front of Lyra and paused. Offer accepted, said the AI in her ear. Protocol mirrored. Path cleared. The orb darted away. No one spoke. They followed. They arrived in spherical space, surrounded by dozens of Velari forms, each unique, yet bound by the same bioluminescent filaments spiraling from their cores. One stepped forward. It shimmered with the same crown of motes the first emissary had worn. The room responded to its presence, the walls dimming until only it and Lyra remained lit. Another pulse. This time, a clearer resonance. Her AI translated slowly. You persist. You shift. You open. Lyra took a breath. We came seeking peace. A delay. Then you revealed weakness. Then truth. Then purpose. They think we evolved, Anya whispered. The Velari entity projected a memory, not from Earth, but from itself. A battlefield, soaked in streaks of white flame. A silent scream through time. Then a spiral, the same spiral as before, now unwinding. They came from war, Ryle muttered. It shaped them. Marlowe stepped closer. They're not testing us anymore. No, Lyra said, voice calm. They're deciding what comes next. The Velari form pulsed again, sending another wave of resonance. This one felt sharper, more deliberate. A fracture of intent. The AI's translation crackled. Alliance conditional. Pattern must continue. Not one act. Sustained intent. They want proof over time, Anya said. Lyra nodded. Then we show them time. She stepped forward and removed the diplomatic badge from her uniform, the symbol of her role, of Earth's mission. She placed it on the floor between them, raising her hands in a gesture that had no earthly origin but felt right. Open palms. No defense, no demand. We will remain, she said. Not to monitor, not to persuade. To witness. To live beside you. Silence. Then the Velari figure dissolved, not violently, but like mist pulled into sunrise. The remaining entities followed, leaving only light in their place. The spiral patterns etched into the chamber now rotated in harmony, their rhythm slow and balanced. A corridor opened behind them, leading not back to Horizon, but deeper still. Ryle looked to Lyra. "They're accepting us." "No," she replied. "They're inviting us." Anya's voice trembled with awe. "We're not ambassadors anymore. We're neighbors." Marlowe, ever the skeptic, folded his arms. "But what's the price?" Lyra didn't answer immediately. She stared down the glowing path ahead. Her thoughts flicked to Earth, still watching, still waiting, still too far to understand what had truly shifted. "The price," she said finally, "is vigilance and humility." They took the first steps down the new corridor. Somewhere behind them, the horizon recorded everything. Every pulse, every footfall, every silence. And far across the stars, Earth received its final message from the delegation. Not in language, not even in image, just a signal. Open, uncoded, enduring.